What's up, Taiwan? I'm Tiffany Wong with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. A suspicious Russian cargo ship has been detected lingering off southern Taiwan near some of the country's undersea cables. It comes after recent incidents of cables being damaged by civilian ships near Taiwan and in the Baltic Sea. Chris Gorin has been following the story from Taipei and joins us live now. Chris, what can you tell us about the ship?
Well, there's a lot of questions about this ship and its activity, but here's what we know so far. It's a Russian-made cargo ship named the Vasily Shukshin, and it's flying the flag of Belize, and it's registered to a company in Hong Kong. Now, publicly available data shows its route leaving the far east of Russia, docking briefly in Busan, South Korea, before heading all the way down to southern Taiwan near Pingdong County. Now, here's where things get really interesting. It then stayed in that area of southern Taiwan for more than 3 weeks without docking in any Taiwanese ports. And another thing that's raising eyebrows here is that this is near where 2 of Taiwan's undersea cables actually make landing. Now, these are the telecommunications cables that keep Taiwan connected to the global internet. Finally, at around 10 p.m. last night, it started heading back north along Taiwan's west coast. And as of this afternoon, it's been seen near the central coast of Taiwan. Now, Taiwan's Coast Guard says that it is aware of this ship, that the ship entered Taiwan's territorial waters, but did not cut any undersea cables. But it's this lingering around the area of the cables that is really raising alarms here, especially in light of all of the recent events involving undersea cables. You know, for example, in Europe recently, a tanker carrying Russian oil was seized by Finland, suspected of damaging undersea cables there. And just weeks before that, a Chinese ship was also suspected of damaging cables in Sweden's territorial waters. And then back here in Taiwan, just earlier this month, there was another Chinese ship also suspected of damaging undersea cables in the Taiwan Strait. So with all of this activity going on, authorities here are naturally on high alert.
And Chris, how unusual is it for a cargo ship to linger in this way?
It's pretty unusual, even in the context of China's pretty regular gray zone activity around Taiwan, especially given that the ship is from Russia and not China. Now, earlier today, TaiwanPlus spoke with Ray Powell at Stanford University, who tracks a lot of this gray zone activity, and here's what he told us.
We haven't seen a lot of these loitering ships off the coast that just sort of wander around, whether they are looking for submarine cables, whether they are collecting intelligence. What exactly they are up to is, I don't know. But I am noticing an increase in activity off of Taiwan's coast, and I think it's something that's going to take a lot more study.
Now, we may find out more about this ship and its activity in the coming days, but the fact that it was able to linger so long in southern Taiwan without much incident is certainly to raise a lot more questions. Tiffany?
Thanks, Chris. That was Chris Gorin reporting live from Taipei. The U.S. is set to tighten restrictions on exports of chips and AI-related technology to stay ahead of the competition. This follows the Biden administration's continued efforts to limit China's access to advanced chips. Joyce Tseng reports.
With just days until U.S. President Joe Biden leaves office, Washington has come out with new restrictions on its most advanced technology, this time focused on artificial intelligence chips. Throughout his presidency, Biden has imposed rule after rule to thwart China's access to cutting-edge chips and maintain U.S. tech dominance. This latest move goes a step further, putting countries into 3 groups, slapping a complete export block of advanced GPUs, the specialized processor AI needs, to these countries, including China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. On the other end of the spectrum are 18 of the U.S.'s closest allies and partners, which includes Taiwan, with unlimited access to its AI technology. The countries left, essentially the rest of the world, will have caps on how many AI chips it can have, with potential licenses for firms who follow Washington rules.
I mean, certainly it does seem like they're trying to get something out as sort of a last win for their administration. But There's, I think, almost a sense within industry and even governments that the United States just simply keeps asking and asking and asking other governments, other companies to play ball with the United States government without any actual sort of give back.
Those in the business of AI chips have been criticizing the plan, including California-based AI powerhouse NVIDIA. The firm's Taiwan-born CEO, Jensen Huang, just recently unveiled a GPU that's twice as powerful as its previous model.
Here it is.
The company says the latest controls are misguided and threatens to squander the U.S.'s tech advantage. Other firms like Microsoft and ChatGPT owner OpenAI had more muted responses. Microsoft saying it was confident it could comply with the high security standards.
Your NVIDIAs and your Oracles got caught offside or blindsided by this. But I think Microsoft in many ways had been sort of underwriting what a potential playbook or pilot for this could look like. Well, Microsoft had been negotiating this G42 deal with the UAE government for months. In fact, I think in many ways that served as the pilot for how we think about exporting chips to all these other bands of countries.
For Taiwan, though the new rules won't apply, its firms like TSMC will still need to be vigilant, wary of where its restricted advanced tech may end up. The chip-making giant has already cut ties with a Singapore-based client after a TSMC chip was found in a phone by Huawei, the Chinese telecoms giant blacklisted by Washington since 2019. A potential wild card is incoming President Donald Trump, whose administration will have to enforce the rules. But with his own tough approach on China, high-tech controls may just be a point of continuity in this transition of power. Chris Ma and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
Chinese social media platform Xiaohongshu has become the most downloaded app in the U.S. App Store amid an impending ban on TikTok. The app, also known as Red Note in the U.S., is one of two Chinese apps that American content creators are now turning to. Xiaohongshu is often described as a Chinese version of Instagram and Pinterest. The mass migration comes as TikTok influencers worry they will lose access to the app after January 19th, when the Chinese parent company ByteDance is required to sell off its U.S. assets or face a shutdown. The Supreme Court is currently weighing whether to uphold that law. Wildfires that have killed at least 24 people in Southern California are only partly under control. Officials say the largest wildfire, the Palisades blaze, is 14% contained, while the second largest in eastern LA County is 33% contained. U.S. President Joe Biden called the containment of these fires and two others progress, but officials are bracing for another round of strong winds set to hit the region this week. A Taiwanese company is preparing to launch a new board game called 2045. Set 20 years in the future, it challenges players to navigate an all-out invasion by China. Jaime Okan got an exclusive first play test.
Robot dogs, sci-fi villains, and secret military units. These are just some of the characters found in 2045, a new board game set in a possible near future. Although meant to be fun, the game's premise, China conducting a so-called special military operation against Taiwan, is deadly serious. TaiwanPlus was invited for an exclusive playtest with some key people from Mizo Games, its designer, ahead of its launch.
设计游戏的目的，第一就是要好玩。2045的话是一个现实主义的游戏，玩家只会有一个赢家。它算是第一次台湾用自己的视角，台湾的 view 去看这一个台海的一个冲突。
Participants take turns playing out scenarios where China's military, those are the pieces in red, fight Taiwanese forces in green. There are also side missions where players have the option to support unification with China in return for points. Every player begins with a secret role, ranging from spy to weapons dealer to prominent public figures.
接下来我们有一个可能长得很像某个对台湾可能某个总统的，叫做台湾自卫队。对，它是一个光谱上比较倾向守护台湾，但是同样的，你即使身为台湾自卫队，你也可以选择帮助共军。
The design team has worked hard on the game's visuals, with cards representing China's military based on real units. A big part of what makes this game unique is the blend of realistic and sci-fi components. The board game shows realistic city centers in Taiwan, and the cards show sci-fi kind of drawings of Taiwan-inspired aspects of both the military, civil defense groups, and just kind of important infrastructure like reservoirs and satellite infrastructure. Crowdfunding for 2045 began in August, and with both the game and cross-strait tensions grabbing headlines, it's already raised over $120,000. As China continues to threaten Taiwan with invasion in order to bring it under its control, Chang says that this war game highlights what he views as a dark reality. Not everyone in Taiwan is on the same team.
不必须要合作的，那这件事是我们故意的，对，就算我是一个台湾人，我们做了一个就是一个 war game， 但是在这个游戏中，其实我们是故意用realism 的那种方式去呈现说，其实战争非常残酷，然后我们到最后，这个游戏的最后是有可能中共赢的，而且几率蛮高的。
Despite the game giving players the option to sabotage each other to gain points, KJ says he's inspired by a common trait he's noticed amongst Taiwanese players.
如果是台湾人的话，他们会比较 unselfish， 他们会想要让台湾赢，可是让台湾赢就有可能会让自己的就是名次往后退，对。但是大部分的台湾人他会比较想要，我要团结，我要 fight back。
With the first batch set for release, the designers at Mizo Games hope their project sparks awareness about the realities of war, offering a platform for discussion and a chance to learn about its harsh truths firsthand, all while allowing players to have a bit of fun. Luffy Li and Jaime Okan in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
A group of hunters has stepped up to the challenge of containing wild boars that are wreaking havoc on crops in the Qingling Mountains of northwestern China. Rosie Greninger reports.
As night falls in China's Qinlin Mountains, these hunters emerge, scouring the landscape for boars equipped with knives, tracking technology, and dogs. Dubbed city hunters, these men have taken on the task of culling the wild tusked pigs, which have run rampant in the region and gained a reputation for devastating local crops.
这是一个公益性的护农。 因为我们村呢也就在山区旁边，我们村的庄稼也有，就是每年有受害，所以说我们当时我们因为好玩吧，跟着一位老大哥带着我们一起去打野猪，打了一次我们就感觉挺好的。
The boars were a protected species for over 2 decades, but they were removed from the list in 2023. Their population soaring to 2 million. That's when locals realised the boars were a problem, costing them thousands of dollars in crop losses. For their service, the hunters received bounties of up to $410 from local governments. They've also gone viral on social media, gathering almost 350,000 followers on China's version of TikTok. These men hope to use social media to earn enough money to cover their expenses through advertising and selling hunting products.
前前后后花了大概有100多万，100多万就是不到2年时间，从我们开始玩到现在。收益的话，现在拍抖音还能补贴一点，就是大概抖音能挣个30多万吧。
But there are those who disagree with their practices. Some followers say the use of hunting dogs is inhumane, while animal rights groups claim the boars are important in providing a food source for other endangered species. But with no government push to implement better crop protection or provide compensation for losses, these hunters are the farmers' last resort for helping them safeguard their livelihoods. James Lin and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, check out these Japanese Shinto followers bathing in a tub of ice water at a Tokyo shrine to pray for good health in the Year of the Snake. I'm Tiffany Wong. Take care and see you next time.